Hello and welcome. Our customers tell us that they want more data, more productivity, with less keystrokes and less mouse clicks. In this session, we're going to show you some of the highlights from Business Central's 2023 Release Wave 2, where we've improved the web client in terms of these kind of productivity features. And it's mostly based on your feedback. My name is Mike Borch-Cardona. I'm a product manager at Microsoft. And today I'm joined by my colleague Ivan, also a product manager at Microsoft. And in this session, we'll cover how to get to your data more quickly. We'll look at new ways to really dig into the details of your data, whether you're performing quick analytical tasks or maybe troubleshooting some kind of configuration error. And we'll sneak in a few good-to-know tips as well along the way in relation to the web client. So let's dive into our first topic, which is navigation. Our users spend a good part of their day going from page A to page B, from record 1 to record 2, navigating around Business Central to get their tasks done. So we really want to help them get around more quickly and more reliably. So to help me tell this story, here is Ivan.
So thanks, Mike. I'm so excited to be part of this session and to show you how to get to your data faster. When using Business Central, every single one of our users looks up related data, be it through a simple or advanced lookup. Some of them simply pick values to enter, while others use them to get to record details. 2023 Release Wave 2 brings you 60 to 80% productivity boost in these scenarios, depending on whether you prefer to use mouse or keyboard when looking up related data details. You must be wondering how. Well, we've added show details to all simple lookup dialogues so that users that love using mouse to navigate to record details can utilize that. New keyboard shortcut was added. It's Control-Alt-Down, and it navigates the user to the related data definition. This keyboard shortcut works on simple and advanced lookups with records that have card pages or not. You can think of it this way. The Alt-Down that you currently use for lookup will take you to a non-editable list, and the new Control-Alt-Down will take you directly to a card. Great news for our partners is that there is no uptake of this. It's just there in your existing and your new code in 2023 Release Wave 2. Well, this is one of the ways to get to your data faster in 2023 to Release Wave 2. Let's see what else is there. Nothing beats search in terms of getting to your data fast. Research shows that users spend up to 20% of their working time searching for information. Finding specific information in a timely manner across different areas of business management solution often requires tailored queries within its different parts. Because of the volume of the data constantly increases, it's becoming increasingly important to get to the relevant content fast. So Business Central allows you to search across company data that's relevant for your role and not just business transactions. And in 2023 Release Wave 2 in a very familiar way. So simply press the well-known Alt-Q to open Tell Me and start searching for your company data. Getting to company data search through Tell Me improves discoverability of this capability and aligns Business Central with user experiences that you're used to in other Microsoft and Dynamics 365 products. When on editable page, currently focused field's value is automatically copied to Tell Me, enabling you to search across company data that's relevant for your role and data that you have access to. Optimized search result page also allows you to focus on search results while making sure search is performant and can easily be tailored to your needs. And with this release, Tell Me is also available on Business Central mobile app, but there's a separate session that goes into more details on this. Let's see these improvements in action, as slides and screenshots are just not enough to show how powerful they are. We'll start in the sales orders list, and the thing that you might have noticed is we have this sort of peek view that allows you to get to details of a record. And it's pretty convenient. Even if you're using keyboard, you can simply press enter and another enter, it will take you to the card, right? This is a sort of a list and non-editable card page experience, as this works only with the non-editable pages. But let's say that you want to have a look at some data while you are editing a sales order. The first thing that you will notice when you open the lookup, right, there is this new show details action, which takes you directly to the customer card. What you can also do, as I've explained previously, you can press Ctrl-Alt down and it just takes you to the card, right? This was a simple lookup. If we move on to a advanced lookup, pressing Ctrl-Alt down does exactly the same thing. Now you might be wondering, what about these pages that actually don't have a card page? One of these is a country or region code, right? Pressing Ctrl-Alt down actually takes you to the list, and what you can see in here is it also filters out the record that was selected. Let's move a bit further below, and let's see what happens with a lookup where we don't have a value selected. You see that the show details is now disabled, but another neat trick that you can see in here, if you press Alt down, you can actually go and pick a random record in here, and pressing Ctrl-Alt down will simply take you to the card even without selecting it. That feels so powerful. Another thing that I wanted to show you was if I go to the customer name and now press that well-known Alt Q thing, what you see is that that customer name that was selected in here was copied directly to the Tell Me. All I have to do is either click Search Company Data or press Enter, and the company data search is actually started. And in here you can see all the details that you might have set that are, of course, relevant for your role, to which you have permissions for, and so on. Plus, the users can actually go and customize which data to search. Another neat trick is you can even select a text like this, press Alt-Q, the selected text copies there, press Enter, and again, you get to the data search. And this new and improved search results page is now actually very smart. You see in here, we have found something on the purchase order line, and clicking on that search result, it's not going to open the purchase order line, but it knows that that line lives in the context of the purchase order, and it opens that particular page. So that's how we enhance Tell Me. But wait, there's more. There's a new link in Tell Me and navigation pane that helps with reports. Can you tell us a bit more about this, Mike?
That's right, Ivan. So those of you with sharp eyes may have also noticed actually two new links here. One in Tell Me, which says Explore Reports, and another one on the Role Center homepage, which also says All Reports. So what is this all about? Well, our customers tell us that they struggle sometimes to find Business Central's reports and other analytical capabilities. So those links now lead to this experience. This screen that gives an overview of all of the reports that may be organized by department, by role. This is really an adaptation of what we call the Role Explorer. Here we're simply focusing in on reports in particular. Now this is based on links from your Role Center homepages to report objects. And I'll show up all over here and give you that big overview where you can find and search those reports. Many times, it's not about you personally getting around Business Central. Sometimes it's about sharing data with others so they can get to data quickly. If you have ever shared a link to a record over email, or maybe into a Teams channel, or possibly into OneNote, as you see on this screen here in this example. Here I've pasted 3 links to 3 different item records, right? You'll notice sometimes those links don't look great. They don't give it a lot of context. So in this wave, Business Central web client introduces a very simple and consistent naming scheme, a naming pattern that really helps links show up as a lot more readable and understandable. They give a bit more context, just enough context actually, to help you understand what's at the end of that link. And this works when pasting links into any rich text editor inside any app. But if you do paste the link into a simple plain text field, or maybe inside something like apps like Windows Notepad, you'll still get the raw URL displayed over there. Now, just to give you a sense of why our customers gave us feedback on this. Well, previously, links looked something like this. They contained too little information in many cases. Look at that, edit item card. Well, can you guess which item record this actually links to? No, right? Sometimes we were over-informative. Too much information just made the link hard to read. And if you were sharing this with your coworkers over email, you'd find yourself trimming the link down a little bit so it doesn't look so silly. So here, there's, for example, a prefix which says edit. There's a suffix which has the brand name, and that's all unnecessary when you're sharing this link with your coworkers. Finally, links were also inconsistent. So how you navigated to the record would ultimately determine what the link looks like when you copy a link to that record and paste it elsewhere. And here is what links look like today. They're clean, they're more readable, they give just the right amount of context. Even the names of your list views or even the analysis tabs appear in the link when you share it with others. It's one of those really small things that just make a big difference to your workday, so go forth and paste with confidence. Now, before we get to the next section, just want to take a minute to share a few things related to the web client that I think are really good for you to know. About a year ago, we announced that legacy list views are going away. We're deprecating legacy list views in update 23 is what we said back then. That's the older model in AL of creating a filtered list, and you'd have to bake that into your role center, or you could create legacy list views through the UI in the past. But we'd like to give our community a little bit more time to act and migrate their legacy list views over to the newer model. So we have a new timeline for this, which is please do this by update 24. So in update 24, which is approximately April 2024, legacy list views will go away. They will disappear from the web client. So make sure you act in good time. Similarly, we're also extending the time until we fully roll out the change where the web client automatically saves the field value as you click or tab out of a field. This change will automatically be enabled for everyone also in update 24, and that is roughly April 2024. Now, here's another goodie for you to know about. We've improved the Business Central platform so that developers can now implement rich content fields and do that natively in AL code without having to use control add-ins or build their own add-ins. Each rich content field, it stretches to fill all of the horizontal space on the screen. It is multi-line, but it has a maximum height. And it comes with a toolbar with over 25 different functions and their corresponding keyboard shortcuts to really help you do things like format your text, add new lines, insert pictures, insert tables as well, and I'll paste content in there as well. For example, you could be pasting the same hyperlinks I mentioned a moment ago. So we know this session is mostly watched by our customers, our end users, our consultants, or salespeople. So do use this opportunity to talk to your developers about this experience that you can now bring into Business Central with your extensions and with your customizations. For example, you may want to use this if you are dealing with product information management, where you need that rich description, multimedia content to be in this space. Maybe you're dealing with rich annotation of your records, or even just using Business Central to author social media content, as in this example right here. So let's switch gears now and look at how we're helping users really dig into their data once they found it, find anomalies, get unblocked faster. And for that, I'd like to switch over again to Ivan. Ivan, what does this look like in Wave 2?
Thanks, Mike. To help you resolve issues when working with Business Central, in 2023 Release Wave 1 in July update, we've added actions to error message dialogues. Making error message dialogues more user-friendly helps build trust with Business Central and saves time by making it easier to correct issues. Users can quickly get to a potential source of an error in Business Central and receive guidance to get to a resolution faster. The collectible errors and check documents and journals while you work capabilities help reduce interruptions and give you an overview of posting errors while you work on the journal or document. Actionable errors help you fix typical errors when posting dimensions, which can save time when you are processing a large document. Error message page includes recommended actions to fix the error and supports applying recommendations in bulk across multiple errors using accept recommended action. In the first iteration, we provide users with capability to fix dimension code related errors when dimension posting rules require dimension to be the same or dimension code must be blank. We've also improved the user experience of error messages page, making most prominent information easily accessible in the list of errors and the ones that are less prominent in the details fact box. On top of that, there's an interface for AL developers to add their custom fixes for custom errors. To get to parity with actionable error dialogues, in 2023 release wave 2, we've also improved inline validation dialogues, as they also surface errors during data entry. Users now get navigate and fix-it actions on validation errors that either take you there to a problem so you can fix it or have Business Central fix it for you when possible. Clear and actionable error information in validation messages helps you quickly resolve errors or pass on the details to your admin or support or revert changes that cause the error. Every inline validation dialog now has refresh and copy details actions. Inline validation refresh action is now more conveniently positioned closer to the error itself. And the copy details actions now allows you to copy and share full error details conveniently, even from the inline validation error. Of course, nothing beats seeing this in action, so let's dig into this in a short demo. So let's go back to our sales order. And in here, I will just go ahead and try to change a quantity in here. So this is a sales order that has an item that requires drop shipment. If you look at the error messages, we'll see the improved error message in the inline validation dialog, but you will also see the action where the Business Central can now take you directly to that purchase order that is linked to this sales order. Another thing that you will notice in here is the refresh or revert actions and the copy details actions. So these are more conveniently positioned right now, and clicking revert will revert this, and copy details will get you all of that technical information that you can pass on to support and share with your admin or a partner. So let's revert that one. This was an example of an actionable error that is just going to take you to another place. Let's try to do another thing. Let me try to change quantity to ship in here, right? And you can see you get another type of error. This is an inline validation error that actually allows you to fix the value because we know what the expected value in here is, and Business Central can actually go ahead and help you fix that issue. What you might have noticed also on the side, in here you have a document check fact box that collects the issues you might have while you are working on this document. In this particular case, I have a document that has some dimension values that are not appropriate for it, that do not comply to the rules that were set in the setup. And in here, you can actually click on the description to see the full error message. You see that error messages now have a title and a bit clearer explanation of the error. What the user can also do, they can click on the recommended action to go and simply fix that particular error. Or another thing that you can do, you can actually go and inspect. You can see that this error is coming from line number 2 in that sales order, that the location of that error is in that line's dimension set entry, right? We see in here sales campaign is missing, right? So in order for us to correct this error, what the user would normally do would go in here and add that sales campaign entry. And there's also a source of the error comes from the item's default dimension setting, where the sales campaign requires summer to be set for that particular item. And of course, you can imagine the old way of doing it. It's going through each and every line, updating the dimensions, and up until it's like a lot of trial and error. What you can do also in here, you can just go ahead, select the errors and say, I just want to accept the recommended action, do this, close. And in here, you can see we've resolved all the errors. I mean, this is really something very very exciting and very something that can boost your productivity. Just think about the old way of going into this each line of the document or journal and fixing things, and the heated discussions you might have had with your controller about changes to a dimension posting rule. In summary, the demo showed how Business Central's actionable errors in standard and inline validation dialogues help users unblock themselves and help resolve problems faster. Next, Mike will show us how digging into data across companies and pages works in Wave 2. Mike, over to you in the studio.
When Business Central users multitask, for example, pop out multiple windows so they can compare information side by side or use multiple tabs, they always need to know the context of what's inside that window before switching to it, for example, with Alt-Tab. We've applied the same simple and consistent naming convention also to the title of each tab. And that's very similar to what I showed you earlier. And this makes your tabs a lot more readable, understandable at a glance, especially if, like me, you have a busy week and you end the week with about 30 open tabs. You need to know what's in there, right? Tab names are now more clean. They're trimmed of unnecessary information. They just give the right amount of context, and which means you now no longer need to Alt-Tab and inspect what is inside each one of those to figure out which tab you're actually looking for. Let's put this into practice. I'm going to show you a little demo of this. So let's imagine my task for today is really digging into my data across different companies. I'm in the chart of accounts list right now. I'm in the Cronus USA company. I'd like to compare some of that with what's in another company, Cronus Chicago. I'll use the company switcher for this, great feature. And here I can actually choose to open this same chart of accounts in the other company in a new tab with a click. So here it is loading up. I've got a chart of accounts for my Chicago company. In a moment that will appear on the screen. Now I may also want to duplicate tabs, so let me just do that, and bring up in this one particular tab here for the Chicago company a particular account and all the account details. And having these different tabs here is really just going to help me compare this information as I work across these companies. Let's open up the deferred tax assets account. There we go. Now, I'm going to use Microsoft Edge's feature here to have vertical tabs, so you can really see the different tabs and what they are named and what that looks like. Here I've got chart of accounts for Cronus. That's where I started. I've got chart of accounts for Chicago. That's the company I opened up. And now I've got the GL account for deferred tax assets for Chicago. So the tab names are super useful now. They're really easy for me to understand what's going to happen, what am I going to see when I click on each of those. And here, if you set up the company badge for each of these companies, the company badge will also appear in the tab name to give you that clue. So this is really useful for our users who use a lot of time in their day switching across companies and digging into that data and comparing. Now, the naming for tabs also feeds very interesting features in your browser. So for example, here I'm almost out of time with this task, so I'd like to continue from home on my home PC. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, look, let me select these tabs. I'm going to use a feature in Microsoft Edge to start a new collection. There we go. I now have a collection up here, which includes my 3 tabs. There's a little thumbnail of what's in the tab, but also, again, those tab names that are so indicative of what's in them is also transferred into my collection. I'm going to use another feature to add a quick note. Remember to review Chicago. And the great thing is this is all saved, and this particular collection of links, collection of tabs, is now something I can pick up where I left off as soon as I get home from my home PC. Okay, so we've seen now how the tab naming is super easy, super intuitive, nice and clean, and gives you a lot of context. Let's talk about another great feature here. We've enhanced the very popular page inspection tool with a few neat little changes that I really want you to know about. Now, page inspection is a Swiss Army knife of sorts. It helps you understand the underlying data model for your pages, but also use it to troubleshoot record data, for example, that isn't shown on the page, and so much more. So now, clicking or activating the field in the inspection pane will actually scroll that field into view on your page canvas, making it super easy for you to find these fields that you're looking for. Let me give you a really quick demo of this so you can see how it works. Let's start out on the vendor card here. I'm going to use the shortcut Control-Alt-F1. That's going to slide in the page inspection pane. And here I can see for the current record, which is the Fabricam vendor, I can see all of the fields, and that's a lot of fields from this table record. Let's start easy here. I'm just going to click on the number field. Notice how instantly the number field on the page has this visual indicator to show me where it is. Fantastic. Let's make this a little bit trickier. I'm going to search for, I don't know, prepayment field. It searches as I type. It finds one field that matches from the table, and that's the prepayment percent field. So watch what happens the moment I click on this. The prepayment percent field now has been scrolled into view on the page. And typically to find this field, this is actually quite buried underneath the show more, show less, so it's an additional field. It's under the payments fast tab. So what it's done is create this really easy way for me to get straight to that field so I can edit it, I can modify it, I can copy it, and so on and so forth. So if you're trying to find fields on a rather big and complex page, the Page Inspector has this handy little feature now to really help you get straight to those fields in no time. Now that's what I call a really efficient way to dig into your data on the page. And it works on any page. But there's also times where, depending on the issues that you're troubleshooting with your data, for example, the more tech-savvy people really want to see, well, what does this look like in code? They want to dig one level deeper. Well, we've got something for you as well here. You can now use this new link in the page inspection pane to explore this page in Visual Studio Code. So for example, if you're a consultant, you just want to get more context, you can use the link to get to code, read that code if that's something you'd like to do, and get more context. Or you can use the new menu item on the field itself. That will take you to the code for the field specifically. So here we're really bridging the two worlds between the Business Central web client and the runtime with the AL code that runs all of that behind the scenes. Now, page inspection is really ideal for just one-offs, being able to inspect that occasional field when you're troubleshooting, for example. But sometimes you really want to bring that data onto the page so you can use it repeatedly. We've got a great feature for you here as well. We're excited to announce that with Update 23, we're also introducing the ability to add existing table fields to your pages. So you can optimize them, you can adjust that layout, bring the right data in at the right time. These fields are not editable, so you're really just bringing in source table fields which are going to be read-only. You can only view those values. But it's really going to help you get unblocked. Do something you've never been able to do before. Bring that field from the source table, drag it onto the page, whether it's a list page or a card page. It works on any page type. And around this, we've enhanced the user experience to really help you, understand the situation with these fields, give you more context and transparency so that you can really make sure you're getting the right fields and making changes that are safe. And one last thing we've added to the UI customization tooling is the ability to make fields read-only. This means you take any editable field, you can now lock its editability, it becomes read-only. So you've cleaned up the page, visually it doesn't distract you from the editable fields that you want to be modifying and enter data into. It also prevents, data entry accidents as well. So last wave, we also introduced analysis tabs. This was released in preview, a whole new way of deriving insights from your data without having to switch apps, without the need for development. In Wave 2, this is now generally available for all of our customers. And based on your feedback, we've improved a whole bunch of things here as well. We've improved the experience. For example, you can actually share a link to your newly crafted analysis tab with your coworkers. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the name of the analysis tab will actually be included in that hyperlink. You can provide more control over who has access to analysis mode and on which pages as well. There's no limits to the data volume that you can actually bring into these analysis views as well. And finally, we're also going beyond lists in terms of now applying the same experience also to queries and query objects. Some of these topics really deserve their own deep dive session. So if you have a few more minutes, I highly recommend you take a look at these. We have one session about the analyzing data on lists. We've got another one about UI customization tooling. And I also recommend this third session as well about mobile apps, because we know that productivity goes beyond just the desktop. Sometimes you need to take Business Central into your pocket and on the go, and even there doesn't need to be productive. So join that session to hear about how you can search for pages and data more effectively, but also use new features like barcode scanning to do so much more. So there's plenty more resources. If you want to learn more about Business Central, if you want to follow the buzz on social media, or if you just want to connect with the product engineering team, people such as myself. Well, we started off by saying that customers may want to type and click less, and I hope you've gotten a good sense of that throughout this session. But if you've got that next great idea that you think will save our customers a whole bunch of time, we're listening. We're listening to your feedback. You can submit your great ideas at aka.ms/bcideas. So it's been a real pleasure to show you how we're improving the web client in 2023 Release Wave 2. On behalf of the Business Central team, thanks for tuning in, and we wish you a productive workday.